Two PLEs in a row with two whack-ass finishes in a row. Welcome here to my 2025 Backlash review. My name is Conman167, and right out of the gate, I want you to know, I thought this show was very fun. Was it the greatest show of all time? No. Was it a show where really anything that important happened? Not really. But honestly, in the ring, that was a very entertaining few hours. This was one of those smaller match cards that WWE has been putting on for their B-level shows. Only 5 matches on the night, but when you broke them all down, every single match deserved to be on this PLE. It felt like maybe the PLE was a little bit shorter than some others and an additional match in there, like maybe, say, the Street Profits versus Fraxium for the tag team titles. They could have put that on this show and it would have really filled the card up in a nice way, because it felt like after watching like the Fatal 4-Way to start things off, it was just singles match after singles match after singles match after singles match. Would have been nice to have something in there to break it up. But we're nitpicking already. Let's get right into our review. We started off the show with Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest. Coming off the great Fatal 4-Way IC Championship match at WrestleMania, it made sense that these 4 men would want to go out there and put the balls to the wall, pedal to the metal, and just go, go, go. As Jacob Fatu says, all gas, no brakes. Ya know what I mean? I'm sorry, okay, I gotta stop doing that. I'm not him. But dude, this match was a great opening matchup. All 4 men went in there and just crushed it, as I'm sure we all knew they were going to do. Like, you can't have Jacob, LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest in the same match and it not cook. Like, I would have been very surprised if this was a bad match. And honestly, I could have seen this being a Fatal 4-Way for the World Heavyweight Championship, or hell, even the WWE Undisputed title. All 4 men are main event workers, and it showed in this matchup. Everybody got a chance to showcase what they can do in that ring, but we're gonna fast forward right here towards the end, where we saw Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre venture to the outside. They went up this tall ass thing and then we're at the top, and usually when wrestlers are at the top of a tall ass thing, they fall off of it. But this time, it was Damian Priest hitting a South of Heaven chokeslam onto Drew McIntyre through 2 tables. Now, scary moment here, all right? Hopefully Drew McIntyre is doing all right. We found out later on that Drew McIntyre's head actually smacked the ground and it hit pretty hard, and WWE officials were looking at him. So hopefully he's doing all right. We did hear from Triple H in the post-show, the press conference, whatever you want to call it, that he's doing a little bit all right. Like, he's doing fine. Like, you know, I don't know if this was them just kind of hiding an injury or if he's actually doing all right. Said he was a little banged up, but seems to be okay. So that's good news, because my God, that was a hell of a bump. But back into the ring we go, and it looks like LA Knight's about to win the whole damn thing by hitting an elbow drop through the announce table before Solo Sikoa shows up and saves Jacob Fatu. I love you, Jacob. But he didn't come alone. This man brought another freaking bloodline member. How many of them are there? Bro, did no one ever teach these guys? We don't need to get into it, okay? Sex education is definitely something that people need to learn. But like, what the hell? Where do they keep coming from? They just keep spawning out of nowhere, showing up on these shows. Like, my God, chill. But the new member of the bloodline looks to be Jeff Cobb. Now, if you don't know much about Jeff Cobb, this dude is an absolute animal in the ring. He's very, very impressive to watch. And like, I haven't seen too much from him in like a live atmosphere, but the amount of clips that I've seen, I saw him a little bit in AEW as well. Like, this guy can go. If you've ever heard of a finishing move called the Tour of the Islands, maybe you played it in WWE 2K, or maybe you just heard that name randomly someday. That's his finishing move, and it's a thing of beauty. You have to go check it out. In fact, I'm probably gonna make a top moves of Jeff Cobb video, like probably at some point here on the channel. It'll be up here soon. But this is like a perfect man to come into the bloodline story. He can absolutely work, and so putting him up there against literally anybody will be a fun, entertaining match. But also, it is a great adversary to the United States champion Jacob Fatu, who defended his title in this match. You now have Jacob, who is getting these crazy good reactions from the crowd, and you have Solo Sikoa, who the fans don't generally like all that much, and you also have Tama Tonga by his side, and the fans are going to do the yeah, but they're not going to do much more. They're not going to root too hard for Tama Tonga. And then when Tonga Loa comes back, like, unless he comes back with his eye patch, like, I don't know what you're going to do with Tonga Loa. But Jeff Cobb being added into that group all of a sudden creates another big time foe for Jacob when they eventually split. Like, I think the writing's on the wall here. Jacob is going to be feuding with the new bloodline at some point. He's going to have a match against Tonga Loa. Or if Tonga Loa's back, he's going to have a match against Tama Tonga. He's going to have a match against Jeff Cobb, and it's probably going to build up to that one-on-one match between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for the United States title. That might be SummerSlam. And really, when you take a look at a year ago, like Solo Sikoa was fighting Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. You know what I mean? That is a year ago, and not even a full year ago. And this man has fallen so far down the card. You need to do something with this man, and getting him another faction behind him that people just don't want to cheer is probably the best course action forward for Solo Sikoa. So a great addition to this new bloodline. I'm excited to see what Jacob Fatu's role in the bloodline is going to be. Does he get a nickname? Is he going to be like a new enforcer? Like, is he replacing Jacob Fatu for Solo Sikoa? You know what I mean? Like, is all of a sudden Jeff Cobb gonna be screaming out, "I love you, Solo"? I don't know, he might be. But it's a great step in the right direction. Jacob Fatu, killer on the microphone right now, killer in the ring. The fans love him. Push him to the moon as a babyface. All right, next up is the Women's Intercontinental Championship match between Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Really strong match from both of these ladies. Like, truly, this is what the Intercontinental Championship should be all about. Work rate, great in-ring matches, elevating a mid-card superstar, and giving somebody who has been there, done that, a chance to go after something new. This was an awesome Intercontinental Championship match. And I've said it before, and I will say it 1,000 times more. There is very few women in the women's wrestling world that can step their game up the way Becky Lynch can. Hell, you know what? I should probably say that it's very few people in the wrestling world that can step up their game like Becky Lynch does whenever there is a PLE match or a main event match that she works. She takes it to the next level. The way that she gets people to buy into everything that she does in that ring is just, it's natural, and it's so great to watch. She always finds a way to make her matches feel like a really big deal, and that's what this one felt like as well. It felt like a big deal. Becky Lynch versus Lyra for the IC title, and that's great because, like, that women's IC title doesn't have a lot of lineage. It doesn't have like a lot of history to it right now. The fact that at Backlash, we got a banger between Becky and Lyra for that title, man, that's going to do wonders for both. Probably more so for Lyra. Like, that's going to elevate her further up the card and in the eyes of the fans as well, because she just put on a banger of a match on a PLE. And the best part of it all, this was a real Graps match. There was real wrestling. There was real submission. There was real groundwork. It was back and forth roll-ups, and the match was won on a roll-up. This was perfect wrestling, and again, it's exactly what that IC championship needs. And I don't want to hear any of this Becky Hogan stuff anymore, all right? Becky Lynch just put over Lyra Valkyria on a PLE when Becky was going after the IC championship that, you know, let's face it, she probably wants to hold. So enough of that Becky Hogan crap, all right? Get it out of here. Becky Lynch is almost underrated at this point because everybody's crapped on her for so long. She was missed while she was gone, and now that she's back, she's going to elevate this women's division and help bring people along with her. I truly think Becky Lynch is one of the best women's wrestlers that they have on that roster, and it shows every time she's in the ring. So great match between the two. Now, after the match, Becky Lynch would attack Lyra Valkyria, so it doesn't seem like this feud is done by a long shot, but I was very surprised that Bayley didn't come out and make the save. It felt like they were setting up her return after this so that you could go in the direction of Becky Lynch versus Bayley and maybe allow Lyra to move forward and do something else. But that's not the case. It looks like we are sticking with Becky and Lyra for the next little bit. It might work. It might be fine. Like, look, if the match is going to be as good as that, if the follow-up match is as good as the one as we got at Backlash, I'm all in on it. For all I know, Bayley might show up on Monday Night Raw, and that's how we get back to Bayley versus Becky. Or maybe Bayley isn't too thrilled that Lyra picked another tag team partner for WrestleMania. And maybe she's not thrilled that she picked Becky Lynch because Bayley warned her about Becky Lynch. I don't know. I'm just kind of reaching at straws right here. Grasping at straws. There we go. That's the saying. But let's get on to the other Intercontinental title match. This is Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. Settle. Miedo. Match was all right. I don't think there's really too much wrong with this, but it was perfectly placed in the middle of the card. This was the buffer match that I think everybody, you, me, your mom, I don't know, everybody needed because the last two matches just were insanely good. The Fatal 4-Way was, of course, insane, and the women's match was just a technical masterpiece, so we needed a little bit of a slow down match. Now, that's not me discrediting what Dom and Penta did in this match. I actually think that they put on a fine match, but this felt more like a Monday Night Raw matchup than a PLE matchup. Again, not throwing any shade, it was fine for what it was. And like just in typical Judgment Day fashion, there was lots of interference, you know, Finn Balor, Carlito, JD McDonough. No Liv Morgan though, because she's off filming a movie. Good for Liv. But with all this interference, it almost backfired on Dominic Mysterio. Finn Balor, Carlito, and JD all got tossed out from ringside. But it was during that moment where there was all this distraction going on that El Grande Americano showed up and took out Penta. Now, I don't know what Michael Cole was on, screaming at the top of his lungs, saying that's Chad Gable. Okay, like, I don't know, Michael. Do we need to check your glasses? That is clearly not Chad Gable. That is clearly El Grande Americano. And if you really want to dive into it, okay, I have the sneaky suspicion that Omos is under the mask. It's not Chad. That dude been sick, okay? That dude got shafted. He didn't get put on the WrestleMania card. You know who just came back from Japan? Omos. He is 100% under that mask, okay? 1,000%. Hell, 1,000,000% it's Omos under the mask. But in the end, Dominic Mysterio retains the title after hitting a big old frog splash onto Penta. And there you go. The greatest Mysterio of all time, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, continues his reign. Now, after all the shenanigans happened and Dominic Mysterio was leaving the ring, him and Finn Balor had a tiny little moment where Finn Balor was looking at that IC championship. It's only a matter of time before Finn turns on the Judgment Day, or the Judgment Day turns on Finn. Which one do you think is going to happen? Because I personally think the Judgment Day is going to turn on Finn, very, very similar to how the Judgment Day turned on Edge way back when they kicked him out of the group. I think Finn Balor is going to be kicked out of the group in a very similar way. Now let's talk about Gunther versus Pat McAfee and what was an extremely entertaining fight. And I'm not going to call this a match. I'm going to call it a fight because that's exactly what it was. There was not a lot of wrestling, all right? This was slap city. This was chop city. This was kick city. This was not ground and pound, try to choke you out, even though it did end up with Pat McAfee being choked out. But up until then, it was a fight. But honestly, all the credit in the world to Pat McAfee in this matchup. He hung in there, dude. And not only did he hang in there, he took some brutal chops from that man, Gunther. Like, people say Gunther can open up your chest if he hits you hard enough, meaning that he can literally draw blood from your chest from chopping you. Pat McAfee was welted up. Dude, his chest was almost as red as my damn beard. Actually, it might have been redder now that I'm looking at it in the camera. It's not looking too red right now. It was as red as the damn pillow in the background. That's what it was. So all the credit in the world to Pat McAfee for hanging in there. But like, this was about as one-sided gets. Pat tried, but like, you could tell Gunther was in that ring just toying with him. He was playing with his food. Like, Gunther never really seemed like he was in any real danger until Michael Cole actually got involved. Michael Cole at one point had the balls to trip up Gunther as Pat McAfee came over the top and almost pinned the man. Pat built up like a string of moves, kicked the man in the chest, and it looked like he was going to maybe get a near fall, but Gunther literally kicked out at one. The closest Pat McAfee got to winning was a 1 count. But in the end, the ring general would be the one to choke out Pat McAfee. He didn't tap out, though, so Gunther, you tapped out, but Pat McAfee didn't. I don't know about that. But he made Pat McAfee pass out in the rear naked choke, and Gunther defeats Pat McAfee. I don't think anybody's surprised at that, but I am certainly surprised at how long Pat hung in there for. Like, dude, again, his chest was so freaking red. But I don't know if this makes Gunther look weak or not, right? You gotta think of it this way. Pat McAfee's not necessarily a slouch. He has competed in the ring before, and he's a former NFL punter. So like, Pat McAfee's an athlete, right? So it's not like he just walked in there against an absolute nobody. Pat was jacked. He looked great in the ring. So it was a fight for sure for Gunther, but wasn't necessarily like a hard fight. But he seemed to struggle a little bit at certain times finishing Pat McAfee, not being able to make him tap out. Like, the fact that Gunther couldn't get Pat to tap out is gotta be a bit of a concern for Gunther, right? He made him pass out, but Gunther was the one who tapped at WrestleMania not that long ago. So I don't know if that makes him look too great. Regardless, though, very, very entertaining fight. I'm sure Gunther will be fine coming out of this. I'm sure Pat McAfee will be fine. I'm sure Michael Cole will be fine. The show of respect at the end really does feel like this could be the end of this mini feud that we had. And that's exactly what it needs to be. Like, Gunther doesn't need to keep going after Michael Cole on commentary or Pat McAfee on commentary. Just Move past this, it was an entertaining feud for a little bit, but let's get Gunther back to either a world title picture or hell, maybe he could be a guy that challenges Cena? I don't know. I'm just throwing out names. But now on to the main event. It is John Cena versus Randy Orton for the last time ever. At least we assume the last time ever for the WWE Undisputed Championship. Like, this match was exactly what it needed to be, right? The nostalgia, the crowd, everything about this match worked, man. Right up until the very end. And I hate that I'm saying that again in my second straight review for a PLE. Everything seemingly worked up until the end of the PLE. And like, I'm not mad. I gotta be very clear right here. I'm not even remotely upset that this happened. But let's skip forward, okay? We'll talk a little bit about the match itself, but let's talk about R-Truth coming out at the very end of this thing. I get it. He's a longtime John Cena fan, and he didn't want to see John Cena be punted. Okay, right, but R-Truth, you also, you know John Cena has not really been the nicest of men, and he proved that at the very end of the press conference where he hit an AA onto R-Truth, attacked him in the press conference. So John's really not a nice guy. But R-Truth is the reason Randy Orton loses in the main event in St. Louis. R-Truth. I'll talk about it more in a minute. Let's break this match down. So this match was honestly a perfect callback to everything that John Cena and Randy Orton had done throughout their careers, right? Through the reversal of the AA into the RKO, which was previously done through a table, through them using each other's moves throughout the entire night, trying to beat each other with, well, Cena's trying to win with an RKO and Randy Orton's out here trying to win with an AA. You know, they've used each other's moves so many times. They know each other so well that they had to reach deep, deep, deep into their playbook. It was a perfect send-off for the end of this historic rivalry. And the best part of it all, too, is that this might be one of the best John Cena-Randy Orton matches we have had, right up till the finish. Both men went out there, and there was something in the air. Seeing Cena work as a heel and seeing Randy work as a babyface is just unlike anything we've ever seen through the countless matchups that Cena and Orton have had through the years. It's always been babyface John, heel Randy, right? And that flip of a dynamic was something that I didn't realize how cool would be to witness live, right? Seeing so many John Cena, Randy Orton feuds and matchups through the years, seeing that the whole roles reversed in this thing was very entertaining. It didn't seem to work as slow as previous John Cena, Randy Orton matches. Like, a lot of the times those matches felt like once they finally kicked it into full gear, the match was over. And I'm not saying every single one. There's cool moments, don't get me wrong, through the years, absolutely. But this one just felt different. It was fun to watch. It felt legitimately like a different style of match compared to everything that they have wrestled before. And it was closing the book on an incredible chapter of John Cena versus Randy Orton. And that's why I am so, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, okay? How do we go from Travis Scott at WrestleMania costing I can barely get the words out. Travis Scott being the reason that Cody Rhodes lost the WWE Championship, and R-Truth being the reason that Randy Orton lost the opportunity at the WWE Championship just feels a little wrong in back-to-back pay-per-views. You know, I can personally admit that I didn't hate either of them, all right? I don't think either are the right call looking at it right now. Granted, R-Truth, John Cena, we'll see if that leads to a match, and if it does, well, then it's more than we got with Travis Scott. But speaking of Travis Scott, did anybody else think that when the ref bump happened, that when we had everybody down in the ring, that we were going to hear I legitimately thought that was about to happen. But no, we got R-Truth instead. So, like, it's a step up from Travis Scott. At least it's not Travis Scott, right? And like I said, if this is leading somewhere, if this is leading to an R-Truth versus John Cena match at, let's say, Saturday night's main event, okay, all right. I don't want to just use John Cena's last appearances, though, just because it seems like something that may be mildly entertaining. We're talking about John Cena's last run here. The dude has shown what? He's got like 25 appearances left, 24. I'm not sure what the number is right now, but like he doesn't have many appearances left. And if you think about it, if this is building up to an R-Truth matchup, well, then we need another appearance on like a Raw or a SmackDown for at least a promo and probably a second appearance along the way. And then Saturday night's main event. Like, we're talking 3 more appearances right there. Are we wanting to use those appearances to have a match with R-Truth? Maybe. maybe I can see it being a bit of a draw, but also when you have names like Sheamus out there, AJ Styles, CM Punk, another potential match with Cody Rhodes, and that's just off the top of my head. It makes me wonder, how many more days do we really have of different feuds, right? Are we looking at maybe 3, 4 more feuds for John Cena, and that's it for the rest of the year? Like, we're starting to run out of time right now with John, and I want to make sure that we're not using dates to just have, no offense, matches with R-Truth. Nobody's going to buy in that R-Truth could win the WWE Championship unless there's like some sort of strange stipulation that's put on the line, right? Like, I don't think anybody's buying into that being an actual possibility. Not during John Cena's last run as a WWE champion. So I'll say it. I'll give it a chance. I'll wait and see. I don't want to close the book on the possibilities of what this could mean for John and R-Truth. Maybe they create magic. Maybe they don't. But that's why we watch the show. And I asked the live chat this, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you to leave a comment as well with your overall thoughts. Do you feel that WWE, with them using a Travis Scott, with them using an R-Truth, do you think WWE's actually building up heat for John Cena as a heel? Or is this just kind of hurting his final run? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to say. So my final thoughts on this was very much a status quo show where fun stuff happened. It was entertaining to watch, but literally coming out of this, I don't know what we could say that is new, right? We didn't get any new champions. We didn't really get too many new storyline directions other than R-Truth and Jeff Cobb. So overall, a fun show. Honestly, a fun night of wrestling. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to give this an 8.25 out of 10. I can't give this much higher than that because, like, truthfully, that's where like swerves come in. That's where like some of the biggest moments come in. If I'm pushing that up in towards the 9.5, 10 area. But 8.25 is very, very solid simply because I think the wrestling crushed it tonight. I don't think there really was a bad match on the card. And if we're talking about Penta and Dom being potentially the worst match on the show, look, it's a good show, man. It's a very entertaining show. So I'll lock it in 8.25 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, make sure you leave a like on this thing. Look at that damn blister that I have right there. Con man be playing too much golf. But leave a like on this thing. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on those notifications and keep coming back every single day because yes, we are back to uploading every single day. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend.